Hi everyone, how are you? Guess where I am again? It's actually kind of fun. I am actually in Florida. I had the opportunity to come visit my mom and pa, and so I'm so excited to be here. I haven't seen them since pre-COVID, so this is a pretty awesome time for me right now. I'm very excited. So anyhow, but of course, I'm not going to stop doing my live trainings for you all. So this one is about the 7 signs that you could be experiencing chronic stress. And we've talked about stress in the past. We've talked about it being, more of the fight and flight. There is another one that they talk about, and that is freezing. And freezing is when you can't move. I mean, you are frozen, and you're so afraid that you can't move. So this is one of the another another sign, not just the fight or flight. So we've talked about good stress, being where it could be saving your life, and we've talked about the bad stress, the chronic stress, the one that's not going away quickly. So. But good stress can also be, for instance, I think about good stress when preparing for a party at my house, and I'm, kind of in a kind of in a mood. It's elevated my mood, but I also know when it's time to bring that stress down, and I know how to do that because of the heart math techniques. So that that's not the really bad stress. The really bad stress is the one that's chronically affecting you. And these chronic stresses, they can end up with you can end up with a mood disorder, and that's what I'm most concerned about with people, is that I don't want that happening, where the chronic stress and the mood disorder is depression or anxiety. Either one of those we need to work with. So. If we think that you could be headed for that. So, the other thing with stress and depression is that stress can cause depression, but then depression can also cause stress. So it's this cycle that you could get into. And so let's talk about some of the things that you need to look for to make sure you're not getting into the chronic stress areas. One of the earliest symptoms is a lower mood. If you're experiencing a lower mood, and what will start happening is you become more irritable. You're going to have trouble sleeping, so you have trouble concentrating, and then the big first indicator is that lower mood, because second is all that stuff I just talked about. Plus, if you can't concentrate, you can start making mistakes, and when you start making mistakes, you can start badgering yourself, which could cause more stress. I mean, I'm sure you all kind of know that little, or not so little thing that can happen there. So you can't articulate because you can't think clearly. We've talked about all of those that can happen from the lower mood. It also disrupts relationships. We've talked about that as well. And disruptive relationships, what starts happening. And we especially talked about this last week when we talked about how, emotional contagion. So if your partner starts seeing you getting into this more depressed mode, then they're going to start getting worried because they've possibly seen it before. If they start getting worried, they could start getting more irritable, and then you're kind of in this cycle, and you could start arguing more. So that starts happening. You could start snapping off at colleagues or at friends. So if you start seeing these disruptive behaviors, you're kind of getting into a more you can see that this is more of a chronic stress, and you need to work with that. The other thing that'll start happening, the next thing that starts happening a lot of times is negative thinking. And when you get into negative thinking, this is when you're going down the rabbit holes. So, beware of that as well. If you start abandoning good routines, then you could be getting into more of these more of the chronic stress. Your good routines would be your healthy eating. So if you start binge eating, if you start eating sugars, high carbs, and that type of stuff, then because it's easier and because of your lowered mood and you just don't feel like cooking or you don't feel, well, that's where your chronic stress could be kicking in. Sorry, that was, there's some golfers out here, so it's kind of fun watching them. Okay, so some of the good behaviors you could be abandoning also would be exercise. If you're somebody who exercises a lot and you've stopped doing that, then that's an indication as well. If you've started any unhealthy coping mechanisms like drinking more alcohol or drugs, then this is also an indication that you're in a mode of chronic stress. So alcohol and drugs actually exacerbate stress. They don't help them. The only thing they're really going to do is numb you so that and then your body gets addicted to that numbing and you're not actually managing the stress. So when you're not managing the stress, then the whole internal cycle is continuing and you're doing damage. So these unhealthy coping mechanisms are not good. So and then look for physical signs. So physical signs is weight gain because you've stopped your exercise and you've stopped your healthy eating. If you've been diagnosed with hypertension or have heart issues, so all of these are things that could be caused by persistent stress chemicals that are in your body that aren't healthy for you. So one of the very first things that you could do is if you're in that very first stage of low mood, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you increase your activity and that you are keeping to a pretty consistent schedule as far as when you're going to sleep, when you're waking up, because believe it or not, a consistent schedule is actually something that will alleviate stress. So you want to do that. You want to keep your healthy eating habits. So the moment you start noticing a lowered mood, I need you to start doing that. If you're already starting to experience some of the other symptoms and you think you're getting into a more depressed state, then you do need to start seeking out professional help. That could be a coach like myself, or it could be a psychologist or psychiatrist, or even starting with your doctor. So I do want to talk about a client of mine, and this is someone that I started seeing probably about 7 weeks ago. And this client, when I first started seeing this person, they were in the room with the lights out. They were experiencing depression and anxiety. And it was a situation where I couldn't even hardly see the person on Zoom when we started the sessions. And within 4 weeks, the lights came on in the room. I could see the blinds were drawn and the sunshine was coming in. And it's not that they weren't experiencing stress, because stress is in everybody's life. It's every day. So it's not that they weren't experiencing it. It's that they started managing the stress because they had 4 weeks of techniques that were given to them. Not just HeartMath techniques, but I also do mindfulness training. And, it depends upon what's going on for you, for what techniques that I'll bring in for that week. Depends upon what happened the previous week, what you think is going to be happening the following week. Depends upon what techniques I'm going to bring in for you. So I do individualize it as much as I can. If you're in a group, one of my group sessions, then it'll be individualized, not individualized, but it'll be more based on the dynamics that's happening within the group. And I may suggest to you a one-on-one if you are experiencing something that's completely separate from what the group is experiencing. That way you could get some additional techniques in your tool belt. So like I said, this person just, started within 4 weeks, opening up, and, blinds drawn. Within 6 to 7 weeks, they started, going out with their friends again, and they and started going on hikes and exercise type stuff again. And so things started, because they had these tools, things started improving greatly. So the techniques really do work. And if you are experiencing these stress symptoms and you're not getting yourself help, then if not now, when? and really, really support you in doing something, whether it's with me or somebody else, because this is, physically affecting you greatly. So if you do want to start working with me, then go ahead and click on the link and get your free session, free discussion with me on, what kind of program we'd be looking at. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this training. And next week, we are going to be talking about anxiety. Yes, we'll be talking about anxiety. So, because that is one of the mood disorders that that stress can lead to. So, we are going to discuss that one. And all right, well, you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you again next week.